From the Lemanal residence of former Compal Alan Wiley is recovered. Police say one suspect is in custody. The massive cleanup campaign in Belize City. Prime Minister Briceño says government is footing the fuel bill. And Dwayne Moody reports from Egypt. We'll show you the discussions that are being held at COP27. These stories and more coming up on News 5 Live.
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 9 Caribbean Media Awards for 2021. Best Investigative Report, Best News Item, Best Coverage of People with Disabilities, Best Financial Literacy Journalism, Best Videographer, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with 2 special mentions for Financial Literacy Journalism.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited Postpaid Plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, Text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart. It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
It's an massive season with massive deals and rewards at Penny's. From now through December 31st, earn double P-Bucks on store-wide purchasing every Friday and Saturday. That's right, 2 times the P-Bucks, which means 2 times the cash back when shopping at Penny's. Plus, get even more rewards with P-Bucks Builders on home goods, tiles, appliances, paints, and lights. And don't forget, there's also massive deals and discounts on tiles and the best brands in paints like Benjamin Moore and BH. Rewards, deals, P-Bucks. You can get it all this massive season only at Penny's, celebrating 75 years of quality and savings.
After a rough week of school, Jake and his friends decide to treat themselves to frozen coffee. And since they don't have cash on them, they decide to use eCash. With eCash's geolocation feature, Jake can easily find the nearest coffee spot. With eCash's built-in option to split bills, Jake can pay the bill and his friends can reimburse their portion of the bill. Jake scans the merchant's code and confirms payment. Jake then views his transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the split the bill button where he selects the evenly option to evenly split the bill. The application splits the bill automatically. His friends receive and accept the request. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash makes Jake enjoy his digital lifestyle.
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank. Good evening and welcome to News 5 Live for Thursday, November 10th. I am Sabrina Daly. Police have recovered several guns that were stolen from the residence of the former Commissioner of Police, Alan Wiley, in Lemonal. The firearms were discovered in 2 different locations, one in the same village where Wiley resides, and 3 additional weapons were found further north in Orange Walk. Of note is that earlier this week, police had detained a resident of Lemonal whose mother, Dana Bull, came to us on Tuesday. She alleged that her son was being denied medical attention to undergo necessary lab tests and a consultation with his doctor for an existing health condition. Police released her son later that day, having filed no charges against him. And while Deputy Head of the National CIB, Superintendent Gerald Jones, says there is a Lemonal resident detained, Bull told us this evening that that person is not her son.
Police have since recovered 3 of the firearms in the bypass area by Orange Walk, within Orange Walk jurisdiction, and one next to the mother-in-law residence within the Lemonal village. We have one person detained. He's pending charges for the offense committed. And these firearms are in police custody and we're doing the necessary charges. We know that he's a resident of the said village. I'm not too certain if he's a person who knows the layout of the residence of Mr. Wiley. However, we did in fact our investigation and that led to him being detained. The initial stage, we received an information of a burglary that occurred within the Lemanal village area on the residence of Mr. Wiley. He was out of the country at the time when the situation occurred.
Meanwhile, in another search in San Juan area, San Pedro, Jones said police found a gun and a magazine stashed in a Ziploc bag that was in a washing machine. No one was in the area and the find was taken in as found property. Last evening, we reported on 2 incidents of attempted kidnappings that involved children. In one case, a 6-year-old in Orange Walk and a teenager in another instance, as she walked to school near Neil Penn Road and Central American Boulevard in Belize City. There were 2 audio recordings that lent to the credibility of the reports of a black van that was allegedly used in the so-called abduction attempts. One of the recordings was from a parent, and the other was purported to have been made by ASP Gamboa, who assured that the matter was being investigated. Well, it turns out that both incidents were fabricated. Today, Superintendent Gerald Jones said that the reports were basically stories that the children made up. But while that may have been the case this time, Jones assures the public and students that this should not deter them from reporting actual cases that may occur, if and when they do.
The investigation had led us to believe that they were fabricating both stories, one in Orange Walk and also in Belize City. And we will be visiting their parents and we'll be talking to them about the situation, because this information is very, very serious that we take. And if you make any false report to the police, you can also be dealt with for that. We ask that wardens, parents, guardians continue to be alert, because we don't want to drop our guards and we want to stay alert. And in case if any situation like this or similar incident occur, we ask that people just come forward and report these situations to us.
37-year-old Jonathan Burgos, a businessman from Orange Walk, is accused of stealing $3,500 in cash from a well-known attorney in Belize City. While the alleged theft happened 2 years ago, Burgos is only just being brought before the court to answer to charges that he deceived attorney Mark Williams when he accepted money for the purchase of a vehicle. On Wednesday, Burgos appeared unrepresented before a senior magistrate in the lower courts in Belize City, where he was read a single charge obtaining property by deception. On September 16, 2020, 67-year-old Mark Williams, a resident of Southern Foreshore, handed over the money to Burgos as a down payment towards the purchase of a vehicle. Since then, Burgos has failed to produce the vehicle, which was to have been purchased in the United States and shipped to Belize. After several attempts to get a hold of the car dealer, an all points bulletin was issued for the detention of Jonathan Burgos. He was taken into custody on November 8 and arraigned in Belize City. He was granted and met bail in the sum of $2,000 plus one surety of the same amount. Burgos is due to return to court on December 29, 2022. There's much more news after the break, so don't go away.
And this just in, the Tough Enough Tours basketball team was the last seen going into Mappy's Beauty Salon, getting their manicure ring fingers done because they have punched their ticket to the IBL finals. But what about the Belize Coast Guard and the Central Health Customs teams? A third and decisive game must be played to determine who will advance to the big dance. It's the dream game all players dream about. Playing game and hit the winning shot to send your team to the finals. So who is it going to be in this decisive Game 3? Who will advance to the grand finale for a chance to bling the Belize IBL Championship ring? The Coast Guard played like Hurricane Lisa in Game 1 of this 3-game semifinal series. But Central Health Customs answered the call in Game 2 like Wild Gilbert. No, it's down to 1 game and 1 game only. That's what Wild Gilbert. This is as big as it gets. The Belize Coast Guard, led by Buddy Alberto, Party Flowers, John Kelly, and coached by Darren Bovell, battling against the young and upstart Central Health Customs team, who will answer with the #1 point guard in Belize, Lindsay Cooper Lopez, fresh off a 30-point performance in Game 2, alongside Stephen Wade and Akeem Evans, trying to send the Coast Guard back to their base and be the last man standing.
The last man standing.
Remember, it's this Friday night at the Belize Civic Center, 8 p.m. sharp. One game and one game only to determine who will advance to the finals.
Just another level!
Sponsors: Racina's Imports, J&W Supermarket, Mahib's Wholesale, Barefoot Hotel, Cabana Used Clothing, Midway Wholesale, Mirage Belize, Car Guys, Harris Import, Prestige Auto Sales, Cellular World, Posh and Store, VIP Wireless, Nando's Wholesale, Benny's Home Center, Crystal Water, Sprite, Powerade, Travelers, Channel 5 and Channel 7, Creme, Wave, Love FM and More FM. Let's get it on!
Mr. Ronald Gordon, our Chief Met Officer, confirmed that Lisa made landfall at 3:20 p.m. yesterday, 3rd November, 10 miles south of Belize City.
The impact of Hurricane Lisa on Belize City has been devastating. Families' lives have been disrupted. People, livelihoods, business livelihoods obviously has been severely impacted. The goal really is to transform these hurricane weather-beaten streets and neighborhoods into livable, traversable spaces again. Getting back to some measure of normalcy. It's a wide cross-section of partners encompassing both public, private sector, of course being led by the government of Belize, the Ministry of Infrastructure. We have NEMO with us, we have CIMO, we have the Belize City Council, the Orange Walk Town Council, the BDF, the Coast Guard, and a wide scope of other partners. Obviously, their efforts here today is being met with great enthusiasm and optimism by the people of Belize City. For us at SIDCO, it means more muscle on the ground to achieve the task. We face one of the greatest natural disasters ever brought upon the city. In my lifetime, in their lifetime, we face it together. Now it's even more important that we face the recovery process, the rebuilding process together. We must exercise patience on all our part.
We live in a world where undernutrition and obesity can exist side by side in the same country, home, or even person. Foods high in sugars, salt, and/or unhealthy fats are leading to unhealthy diets and are one reason why children may not be growing healthily, while causing other people to develop overweight or obesity. The consumption of unhealthy diets is heavily influenced by marketing. Easy access is fueling this new nutrition reality, but thankfully, change towards a healthier future is possible. By having a sustainable, healthy diet made up of a variety of foods that are safe for consumption, we can promote health and have better abilities to fight illness. How do we do this? Good nutrition for women during pregnancy and for children in their first 1,000 days of life, including breastfeeding, sets them up for healthy adulthood and future generations. We should eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, pulses, nuts and seeds, and less sugary drinks and foods high in sugars, salt and unhealthy fats. The less of these foods we buy, the more the food industry will be encouraged to produce foods that contribute to healthy diets. We can also call on our leaders to make the right decisions so that every person, everywhere, can afford and access good nutrition. When people like you and me, industries and governments work together to make positive changes, we can create a healthier world.
The government of Belize is standing firm on its decision to have teachers and students return to the classroom only 4 days after Hurricane Lisa made landfall. Prime Minister John Briceño explains that Cabinet took the decision in consideration of the time that students lost during the COVID-19 pandemic. While the Belize National Teachers Union, BNTU, has taken issue with this early return to the classroom, what has been decided is non-negotiable, says Prime Minister Briceño. Here's what he told us on this matter during an appearance on Open Your Eyes this morning, when asked about the tension between BNTU and the Ministry of Education.
I don't think there's any issue with BNTU and the ministry. What is going on is that it's the Ministry of Education that makes the assessment. They go out and look at the assessment. The different management, school management would come to Ministry of Education and say, these are my buildings that got affected. And then Ministry of Education will go and take another look. The Minister Fonseca explained to us in Cabinet that his priority is a priority that our government agrees that we need to get our children back to school immediately. I know some teachers were talking about wanting another week off, and we said, absolutely not. You have to go back to the school. We need to get our children back to school. That's why we said we're going to open schools on Monday. But obviously, if there's a classroom that was damaged and the children can't go in there, then we have to make adjustments. When you look, and I'm sorry that I use Belize High School, that is a private school. I got some pictures where they are teaching their children under the shed.
Yeah.
You know, and any little corner where you could teach them, because it's so important. Our kids have lost almost a year and a half because of COVID. So we have to get them back to school. Now, if there is a teacher whose house was badly damaged and they have to stay back for a day or two to get back, to try to do some kind of repairs or look after themselves, obviously we will allow that.
Yes.
But we have been saying teachers need to go back to school. That is non-negotiable. And I wish that, you know, at least some of the leaders in the BNP would understand that. This is not politics. This is about getting children back to school.
But has there been a tour?
We are working with the different managements, and they are giving us a report, and then we have to see how best we can assist them, because most of these managements do not have the necessary finance to be able to fix their schools.
We have been reporting on the ongoing cleanup efforts across Belize City and the fact that over 1,000 truckloads of debris have been transported to the transfer station in Belize City. But how much fuel is being consumed for such a massive operation? And who is footing that bill? Well, according to Prime Minister Briceño, the majority of that bill will be covered with public funds. Notwithstanding the current cost of fuel, the Prime Minister suggests that one looks at the glass as half full.
Let's look at the glass being half full. We would have had to pay for the trucks and the equipment and the labor and all of these things, and we're not, because they are donating themselves. Over the weekend, by the way, the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, I think, got about 4 or 5 different contractors, and they came in for 3 days to assist with their own equipment, their own fuel, to clean up, to do the cleanup. But obviously, in many instances, the government has to pay the fuel bill. For instance, the cane farmers, they are not wealthy. So, you know, they say, well, you know, assist us with some diesel. So we are assisting with the diesel. But there are people out there working for free. Some of them I see, I was reminded, I say, they're you know, they're sitting, that they have their lunch bag wrapped up with their food and sitting down in a little corner trying to eat something while they're taking a break. So most of this is donated, but when it comes to the fuel bill, obviously, in many instances, the government has to foot the bill.
The Belize Sugar Industries Limited has set a tentative date of December 19th to start the 2022-2023 season. The announcement was made today during a press conference called by ASR-BSI to address a number of criticisms being made by the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association against the company. Last night we told you that BSCFA is accusing ASR-BSI of foot dragging. The Sugarcane Farmers Association asserts that the process for selecting a mediator to finalize negotiations towards a new commercial agreement has been delayed because the management of ASR-BSI has been unresponsive. They allege that the millers are attempting to corner farmers in an attempt to force them to sign a commercial agreement that is only favorable to the company. Well, in addressing those accusations, today Mac McLaughlin, the Vice President of International Relations at ASR-BSI, told reporters that they have made the necessary submission and that, contrary to reports, BSCFA has been stalling the process.
I have to be careful about what I say about mediation because we had agreed with the BSCFA that we would not go into great details on that issue. However, as the BSCFA chairman has commented, look, it's in all of our interests to get this issue resolved. Nobody wants to have interruptions to the next crop, least of all the mill and least of all cane farmers. The prices are pretty good right now, and it would be a travesty if we ended up in another illegal blockade as we did last December. When it comes to mediation, I mean, all I can tell you is that there is a name around, and we've agreed it, and we've been waiting for several days now for the BSCFA to respond. So I'm not sure about foot dragging. I think that mediation could have started by now, to be honest with you. And we welcome it because I think anybody who looks at the facts and the figures that underpin what would become a commercial agreement, I think would very much see things for what they are. And that's that a lot of the investment that we've made over the last 4 or 5 years is really helping to grow the pie so everybody gets a bigger share of it. And I think the cane price for this current last crop is testament to that. There's not many people get a 30% pay rise, which is the equivalent of what happened there. So as far as we're concerned, look, we don't want any kind of interruptions. We don't want any problems. We want to have, a fair outcome. And all along we've offered a series of suggestions to BSCFA. And frankly, if anyone's been dragging feet, it's been BSCFA who have been very slow to respond to some of those issues and have continually failed to provide any kind of economic rationale for what their demands are, which would amount to a transfer of around about 20 million Belize dollars from the mill to farmers.
Despite the tension between ASR-BSI and the BSCFA, the management of the sugar mill is still hopeful that a commercial agreement can be signed before the start of the sugar crop. This is despite indications from the Minister of Agriculture that an agreement will not be reached before the end of the year. Notwithstanding the minister's remarks, McLaughlin remains optimistic that in the face of improved sugar prices on the global market, a common-sense approach will prevail. But in the event that that does not happen, ASR-BSI will be unable to accept sugarcane from farmers without a commercial agreement in place.
We can't accept cane without a commercial agreement because there would be no way of paying for that cane. There's no commercial basis on which it could be processed. So, look, I think it would be very much unnecessary to get to that point. That's what I've been trying to say. And we might call it optimism, we might call it realism. It's in nobody's interest for there not to be a crop. It's not in our interest, certainly not the farmers' interest. We've just presented a cane price estimate for next year, which is $4 higher than the year that's just passed, but which, as you've seen, has come out with almost record high cane prices, the highest since we lost EU preferences back in 2017, and the fourth highest since 2020. Since 2000. So, I think what's required. I mean, we've basically put before BSCFA a couple of options. One of them complain that they don't get proper information concerning the deductions made before the value of sugar is shared. And we've offered an independent audit right to them to correct that. And that's been rejected as of now. We have said also we can accept their idea of a 60-40 split, but on that basis, we would only be able to pay for sugar based on the raw sugar price, which is a published price. It would take all the conjecture out of this discussion. I think their position has been, well, we want 60% of the gross revenue, but we don't want to contribute to the production of those added value sugars and to the freight or anything else, which is where the $20 million comes from. I mean, that's what the impact it would have. And as I've said, on a mill that has not been making money, I mean, that simply isn't credible.
In discussing the financial benefits to farmers as a result of BSI's move to the port of Big Creek, McLaughlin noted that farmers were able to save just over $3 million, which translated to an increase in cane price by $2. Additionally, BSI's investment in value-added direct consumption sugar in 2021 earned farmers an additional $4.96 per ton of cane, says McLaughlin. Now, farmers are paying an annual manufacturing allowance to the mill, but according to BSI, revenues remain higher.
The heart of the problem here is very, very low cane productivity in the cane farm and very inefficient ways of harvesting and delivering that cane. And I'll give you a couple of examples there, but the average cane yield per acre in Belize hasn't actually changed much over the last 10 years. It's still about 17 tons of cane per acre. The regional average is around 35 tons of cane per acre. Now, if you think about it, the more cane you grow on one piece of land, the more revenue you receive, because you have a lot more cane and you're only putting the same inputs in to that piece of land. Similarly, harvesting and delivery is something that really needs to be completely changed and improved, because at the moment farmers have to pay a tremendous amount of money to harvest, deliver their cane, which isn't the same in other industries.
He was comparing what the earnings are in our neighboring countries as evidence and as proof as to why it could be that the revenues Belizean farmers earn could have been higher.
It's not just false, it's misleading, and it's detrimental, I think, to the process. Remember, Mexico has a population of 124 million people, all consuming sugar. The Mexican industry is designed to produce sufficient amounts of sugar for the Mexican market and for exports to the United States. Both have sugar prices in excess of 32 cents a pound when US dollars, when the global price is around 18 cents a pound. We are exposed pretty much 80% to the global market, and that has a direct impact on the cane price. It's what we earn for sugar that then equates through the value share to what's paid for sugar cane. If we were earning 32 cents a pound for all our sugar, sure, we could pay $100 for a cane price, but it's a completely erroneous analogy, and I am disturbed because I know Chairman of the BSCFA knows that.
After the break, Belize's mangrove protection lauded at COP27.
5 facts about the Port of Belize Development Project. This is the Port of Belize today. This is the transformation that the expansion project aims to deliver. 1. The Sustainable Expansion Project has 3 elements: the bulk, the container, and the cruise facility. All 3 are necessary for Belize's shipping and cruise industry. 2. Upgrades to the national port with newly developed sustainable bulk and cargo facilities benefit consumers and exporters. Reduced shipping costs will allow for savings to be passed on to the customers. It will also expand the export potential for Belize's manufacturers and grow the economy. 3. The Sustainable Cruise Facility is the only project that will bring cruise passengers and tourism dollars directly from the ship onto the ground in Belize City. The improved guest experience and safety allow tourists to spend more time on land during their visit. 4. Marine transport is already one of the most environmentally friendly forms of transportation. The upgraded sustainable port facility will reduce the current impact on the environment by reducing emissions per cruise and cargo ship. This sustainable project is planned with extreme attention to the environment. Belize's barrier reef is a national treasure which will not be negatively impacted. The project will take every precaution to protect and preserve it. 5. Most importantly, this sustainable investment will provide thousands of long-term jobs within the Port Loyola community. Opportunities for temporary jobs will be created throughout the construction phase. This is the port today. This port could be the Port of Belize's future. The Port Development Project will prepare Belize for the future of shipping, the future of cruise tourism, and elevate surrounding communities for the future.
¿Calificas para la amnistía 2022? Esta es tu oportunidad de averiguarlo. Usted califica si es registrado como solicitante de asilo en el Departamento de Refugiados antes del 31 de marzo de 2020, residiendo en Belice antes del 31 de diciembre de 2016. ¿Tienes hijos nacidos en Belice el o antes del 31 de diciembre 2021? Completó su educación en Belice. Casado con un ciudadano de Belice por un año o más. Viviendo en unión libre con un ciudadano de Belice por 5 años o más. Referido por el Departamento de Servicios Humanos. Empleado remunerado en Belice durante 5 años. Para obtener más información y cómo presentar una solicitud, visita el sitio web www.immigration.gov.bz. Prepárate, el plazo de inscripción será del 2 de agosto al 30 de noviembre de 2022. Amnistía de Belice 2022. Continuemos construyendo Belice juntos.
5 outstanding Caribbean nationals, a Jamaican novelist of international acclaim, a Trinidadian virologist who responded to the COVID pandemic, a Barbadian eye surgeon committed to eye care for all, a Guyanese entrepreneur and environmental consultant, and a digital inclusion advocate from Suriname. These are the 2022 recipients of the Anthony N. Sabga Awards Caribbean Excellence.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited postpaid plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart. It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
Ignite the innovator in you with Dell. Cellular World is an authorized partner for Dell Technologies. Whether you're looking for equipment for personal use or to transform your business, Dell Technologies can provide you with the right equipment to suit your needs. Dell is more than just desktop computers and laptops. The full line also includes monitors, data storage solutions, keyboards, docking stations, and other accessories. This is technology that makes it possible and provides solutions for every situation. Shop for your Dell products at Cellular World, your #1 Dell authorized partner in Belize, and get all the technology you want for less. Bring your brightest ideas to life with intelligent technology. Cellular World, authorized Dell partner.
The News 5 team of reporter Dwayne Moody and cameraman Kenroy Michael are at the United Nations Conference of the Parties, better referred to as COP27, being held in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Approximately 120 world leaders and other stakeholders have gathered in this African city to work out the best way forward on the global response to climate change. It is estimated that 45,000 persons from 196 countries are attending COP27. The discussions commenced about a week and a half ago, but tonight we begin our coverage of the international conference by meeting some of the members of Belize delegation who have been actively negotiating on behalf of the entire country.
COP27 has brought climate change experts and political leaders from across the globe to the Egyptian city of Sharm el-Sheikh. It's an annual conference that seeks to tackle the global phenomenon that has been ravaging countries that have had little to no responsibility, but most vulnerable to its risks and impacts. Things like extreme weather events, sea level rise, and loss of biodiversity, as well as land and forest degradation, are among the themes being discussed from a national, regional, and global perspective.
It is very important that we move away from those COPs where there's a lot of commitments, especially from these larger countries who make commitments, but then it is difficult to get anything from them because it is not binding, especially in terms of finance. So COP27, even though it's also termed the African COP, it is also termed the implementation COP. And we want to make sure that action is put into place so that those commitments are action, and then we can move, for example, our commitments are through our NDCs. But for the NDCs to be effective, they also have to be implemented. For them to be implemented, we need funding.
The Minister of Sustainable Development, Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management is the political leader heading the delegation. But who are these people tasked with the duty to defend Belize's position and ensure that as a country our voice is felt? They are referred to as negotiators, and among those lead negotiators are well-respected persons, including Ambassador Carlos Fuller and Janine Felson.
We have the best people that we could have possibly brought, the technical staff that are looking at the different areas. We have someone that's looking at transparency, not only for Belize, but for representing AOSIS, somebody that's specifically looking at mitigation, another adaptation, one at loss and damage, agriculture. And so we also have Ambassador Felson, who is assisting Belize, but also CARICOM and AOSIS. We have Ambassador Fuller, with all his experience also in meteorology and when he was at 5Cs, and he's our lead negotiator here.
My name is Adalmi Romero. I'm a forest officer from the Forest Department.
Here at COP27, Adalmi Romero is more than a young female negotiator for Belize. She's the core negotiator for the Alliance of Small Island States under the Transparency thematic area.
The main focus that we bring from June is creating a draft that could reflect our needs. And here at COP is where we negotiate, and our red line is to not extract out loss and damage in all the thematic areas. It's very important to keep it in because, as you can see, and also we had experienced this past weeks a hurricane in Belize, and the impact that the hurricane caused at Category 1 is very important that we fight for that. We fight for loss and damage and also for adaptation, because in our new reporting mechanism, adaptation is one of the chapters that we need to enforce and also reflect on their transparency.
Sumit Betancourt is one of the youngest in the delegation, but he is the negotiator for Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, which focuses on the sale of carbon credits. The article also focuses on incentivizing countries like Belize that have been historically removing carbon emissions from the atmosphere. So where are those discussions?
At COP26, the Paris Agreement rulebook was completed. The cooperative approaches and mechanisms overarching decisions were completed for Article 6. And now at COP27, we're focusing on the fine details of each of the articles. So Article 6.2, we're discussing international registries, transfer of certified emission reductions. 6.4, the methodologies that will be accepted, and the credits that will now be transferred from the CDM from 2013 up to 2020 and transition into the 6.4 mechanism. And 6.8, we're figuring out capacity building work programs.
Climate finance continues to be a touchy subject simply because the G7 countries have not been meeting their commitments to provide $100 billion to assist countries that have been impacted by the effects of climate change. Meet the Commonwealth National Climate Finance Advisor that is tasked with that.
Finance is always a kind of a very important matter for developing countries, including Belize. So we are working with other AOC small island members and the developing countries to make sure that we have adequate amount of and predictable amount of finance to address climate change. So it's a kind of a long-term debate, but now we are focusing mainly on long-term finance because there's a pledge that $100 billion will be available annually for developing countries as climate finance. So now we are trying to have a new goal for 2025, by 2025, a kind of a common goal. So basically we're trying to enlarge the pot available.
And we cannot exclude gender, not in the sense of male and female, but the people of Belize, inclusive of the cultural diversity, indigenous peoples, youth, and the society on a whole, how we are impacted by climate change and how we adapt. Ida Sosa, the project assistant within the National Climate Change Office and project manager for the UNDP Climate Promise, has been here in Egypt for almost 2 weeks, making sure that Belize is not left out.
There's a coordination happening between the technical team for loss and damage and also the financial, and they're tabling in the part of AOSIS under SIDS. We're looking at the discussions on how we're going to be tabling that, and then coming under the full group discussion and seeing how that can then be negotiated. Within Belize, we have a climate change gender action plan, and we want to continue working along with human development with their gender policy and trying to ensure that climate changes and gender is mainstreamed across all sectors.
Reporting for News 5 from COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, I'm Dwayne Moody.
There are a number of additional activities in which members of the Belize delegation will be engaged. But apart from the negotiations, meetings and side events, bilateral meetings are equally very important for things that Belize can gain, be that project funding, capacity building, equipment, or for the implementation of the national determined contributions. His first day on the ground in Egypt, and Minister of Sustainable Development, Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management, Orlando Habet, hit the ground running. Ahead of a delegation brief, Minister Habet was a panelist at the Nature Positive Pavilion, where the discussion was about mangroves and the important ecological role that they play.
They are often among the first things to be cleared from a seaside property for development, but mangroves play a critical role in the health of a country. That was a separate discussion today at the United Nations Climate Change Conference that has been ongoing in Egypt for almost 2 weeks now. It was hosted by the Pew Charitable Trusts, an independent non-profit organization founded in 1948, which believes that nature-based solutions can fight climate change.
Mangroves are coastal forests, really important to people and biodiversity. They buffer shorelines from storms. Belize just had a very impactful storm recently. Mangroves help with some of that storm surge. They provide food for people, a critical ecosystem for fisheries. And so we supported the government in their ambition to not only understand how much carbon was held, because mangroves are able to draw down earth-warming carbon dioxide and lock that carbon away into soils. And that carbon in the soil could remain there for millennia if the mangrove forest is untouched.
The organization has helped countries like Belize with establishing its nationally determined contributions that were presented last year. And so today, among the panelists were representatives from Seychelles and Belize. Minister of Sustainable Development, Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management, Orlando Habet, says that his ministry understands the value of Belize's mangrove forests.
That report has not totally come out as yet, but they already have an indication of what is there. I think they're finalizing that. And for Belize, it is very important because certainly what they found out is that we have plenty of carbon from mangroves, which can also be applied to our NDCs, but also important because it gives us an indication of why it is that we need to do the type of protection that we do.
In Belize, mangroves fall under the Forestry Department, and the government has committed to the preservation and conservation of another 6,000 hectares of mangroves by 2025, as well as in the reforestation of mangroves. Dr. Stacey Baez says that Belize is a global leader for mangrove science.
Belize probably has the most comprehensive carbon analysis for its mangrove forests. Typically, mangrove carbon is looked at in the trees because it's quite resource intensive to understand how much carbon is held in the soil. But this assessment looked at both the biomass in the trees as well as the soil carbon, and 90% of the carbon held in mangroves is held in that soil. Belize, in fact, could train another nation to undertake a similar analysis. The capacity is there and the expertise is there. So going forward, Belize has the skill set to implement that nationally determined contribution.
Minister Habet says that the country will be seeking to partner with the organization for another study that involves seagrass.
We have now looked at mangroves, but we are looking at seagrass. And what type of seagrass, the extent of the seagrass, and how much carbon we are actually sequestering from seagrass. And so those are opportunities for both the coastal side, which still falls under our ministry, but also for blue carbon, because we have the blue economy that's looking at that also.
Reporting for News 5 from COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, I'm Dwayne Moody.
Victory has been declared at the United Nations Conference of Parties even before the 27th edition of the World Climate Change Conference is completed. On Wednesday, something those small island developing countries and others were able to successfully lobby for is compensation for loss and damage arising from the adversities of climate change. Earlier this week, the Assistant Executive Director of the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center said that the inclusion of loss and damage was a step in the right direction. It is something that Belize, as a member of SIDS, has been agitating for. And even though it does not refer to words such as liability and compensation, it is a significant achievement for those countries that have experienced the adverse effects of climate change. Today, Minister of Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management, Orlando Habet, shared with News 5 what it means for the country and the conversation community moving forward.
We were happy now to find out that it has hit the agenda. So it is an agenda item for COP27. However, some of the issues that we want to address, especially in regards to finance, putting up a finance mechanism, there is going to be some discussion on that. We hope that a lot of it can be materialized, especially in regards to the mechanism itself, because it will not be finalized totally at COP27, but it can be finalized for next year at COP28. We know that they don't want to discuss anything that has to do, even the sound of issues brought forth like reparation, and neither compensation. So we have to be able to see how we can structure it so that in the end we can still benefit from it. But Belizeans have to understand that the issue of loss and damage has two real components. One for quick onset events like a hurricane and what you do to get that type of assistance, which is basically humanitarian assistance that comes. But we are looking at those more long-term damages that occur over the years because of climate change, because of those emissions from those developed countries that have caused these problems. Coastal erosion, the rise in sea temperature, and how it affects our communities, because it affects our country, the physical infrastructure, but it also affects our people. We see how we have issues of migration in Belize because of climate change, but also how infrastructure is damaged. Communities where we might not be able to rebuild in that particular community, but we might have to relocate them. These are things that affect us. And so we are happy that hit the agenda, but we have to see how it goes from there.
When we return, Belize's bilateral partners aid in Hurricane Lisa relief. More contributions to come.
MIDH has mobilized all of its technical team, including housing, including CBA, and so they're on the ground doing analysis house per house to give a report. It will be done 2 phases. The first phase is to help people immediately that need shelter. And so that will be done through Colonel Defoe. And then our ministry will take the long-term plan, which is how can we replace homes that were totally destroyed. And so that's why we are here visiting with the Deputy Prime Minister in his constituency to be able to get a first-hand experience.
Our being on the ground is about assuring people, encouraging people, letting them know that the government will be with them. We'll figure out a way out of this. We'll support them to rebuild and get back on their feet and return to some sense of normalcy after this devastation that we've experienced. So this is what we're trying to do whilst assessing the extent of damages and how serious it is and what kind of effort it will require from the government.
We have right now about maybe 8 to 9 contractors that are on the ground. They brought in their backhoes, their trucks, and then we also have the BDF and the Coast Guard coming in to assist. It's a good feeling to be able to know that you can depend on people when you really need it.
It's a very huge effort. It's an understatement of the century because in Belize City, I know at least in our constituency, it's every other house that's been hit by the hurricane, whether it's roof torn off or a portion of the roof or walls caving in or entire houses collapsing. It's really a lot. It can overwhelm you.
I'm in awe. I'm thankful. It shows that the Belizean spirit can come together when we have an emergency. So it's a good showing.
I will be there. Thank you so much.
Why are you so excited?
Let me tell you a secret. I just got off the phone with Santa.
Hi, Santa. For Christmas, I want a pea shooter, a football. iPhone and a makeup for Christmas.
Oh, come on. 1 second.
We just learned that Santa's phone number has just been revealed. The number is 227-7132.
I'm sorry, Dad. I shared Santa's phone number.
You want a mobile service provider that allows you to stay connected with fast, reliable LTE coverage anytime, anywhere. Whether it's just to catch up with family, to share that experience with your one special friend, or to manage your small business. Whatever's your thing, you deserve to have the best mobile experience. Now you can do even more while on the go with the increased anytime data allowance in Digi's mobile postpaid plans. You now enjoy 8 gigs of anytime data starting at only $55 monthly. Or share up to 120 gigs of anytime data with up to 6 of your closest friends. That's more LTE data for you to enjoy during the day, nights, and weekends. No restrictions. So keep your gigs up with more data plus unlimited talk and text in all Digi postpaid plans. Visit a Digi store near you to sign up today. All you need is a valid ID and proof of address. It's time to get on Belize's fastest mobile 4G LTE advanced network. Visit livedigi.com to find out more, or hit us up on WhatsApp or Facebook. Digi, our national telecom.
We believe that the will of the people shall form the basis of government in a democratic society.
The first constitution of Belize was handed to then Premier Right Honorable George Price on the occasion of the nation's birth in 1981.
It is my very great privilege to hand to you these constitutional instruments, the symbol of your independence.
Since then, governments have come and gone, with changes made to the Constitution in 2000 and in 2008.
Today, in 2022, we ask ourselves, have we done enough to eliminate economic and social disparity? To promote gender equality? Are our laws relevant and fair? Is justice accessible by all without fear or favor? Are we fairly represented at all levels?
Are our rights being protected? Are our beliefs and differences respected? Our cultural values and diversity celebrated? Are we free to live and love, to learn and grow?
Let your voices be heard. The People's Constitution Commission is made up of organizations and entities from every sector in Belize. It is comprehensive and inclusive because any and all changes to the Constitution of Belize must be comprehensive and inclusive.
We believe that the will of the people shall form the basis of government in a democratic society. The Commission will be holding consultations countrywide. Come out and join the discussion. Let your voices be heard.
Our government, our Constitution. Let's Belizeanize it. The time is now.
The international community has united to assist Belize's recovery efforts. Today, the government of Japan decided to provide emergency relief items in the form of generators, sleeping bags, and blankets. Also, on behalf of the American people, Chargé d'Affaires Leila Moses Onish met with Ambassador Amalia Mai, chair of the National Emergency Management Organization's Foreign Assistance Committee, and NEMO coordinator Cornel Shelton DeFore to deliver over $97,000 in essential items to support local recovery and relief efforts. The donation included hygiene and cleaning supplies, first aid kits, and construction materials to contribute to the repairs of structures damaged during the hurricane. The government of the Republic of China Taiwan has contributed in an initial $400,000. The president of Guatemala has also pledged support, says Prime Minister Briceño. Locally, the Banana Growers Association presented $100,000 to Cabinet on Tuesday. PM Briceño tells us more.
What most of our partners are waiting for is a complete assessment. We just immediately on Thursday, with the support me along with Colonel DeFore, prepared I think a two-pager where they were already estimating that it was over $10 million. But now we're doing the final touches. I believe that by early next week we have a closer definitive figure that we can give to our partners. Some of them have been giving small donations. I mean, for instance, the Banana Growers Association on Tuesday, they went to Cabinet and they presented $100,000. They were grateful that they were spared because the hurricane was going in their direction, and should it have gone in their direction, they'd have lost the entire crop. Citrus would have lost the entire crop. So it skipped them. It skipped the San Pedro and Kikauka, and came to Belize. So hopefully, tourism industry, I believe that they also are going to be making a donation. The Ambassador David Chen from Taiwan, they are one of our most staunchest allies and friends, and they immediately came and give us an initial donation of $400,000 so that we can be able to start immediate work. And of course, they're offering more help. The United States government, when I met with the chargé, was saying, well, we're waiting for the official report, and with that report, then we can then know exactly how we can do to help. They, again, through the U.S. Army, they are prepared to come in and to assist. So we have all of that coming in line to be able to get the real assistance. But at the end of the day, we have to be responsible for our own rebuilding. Yes. So we will have to be able to find the bulk of the financing.
Many residents in the Belize district are without a roof over their heads following Hurricane Lisa. The government of Belize is intent on rebuilding a number of these homes. In the interim, several families are being provided with temporary shelter. Prime Minister Briceño discussed this topic further on Open Your Eyes.
When it comes to housing, we are trying as best as we possibly can. Now, I'm certain that somebody will be able to find and say, oh, see that plywood house, we never build. It would be impossible to build every single house the way we want because we have limited funding. But we want to build as many homes as we possibly can for those that were destroyed. If you look at what took place, all of these badly built homes, we have to start to build with us. The Ministry of Housing, what they're doing, they're starting to come up for sometimes as to how exactly you need to build a house. Because if you build it properly, it can withstand a hurricane. The houses that the Ministry of Housing is doing right now, the houses that we built, they're low-cost houses, but they are well built. Not a single one of them got damaged. So that's the first thing. So Minister Espat and his team and CEO Victor Espat, they have been on the ground all this time, ensuring that you could get a right assessment and right plans. So the idea is to try to build as many homes as we possibly can. We want to see if we can make some funding available, probably either through the DFC or the National Bank, for those that have jobs, like say, like the middle class, nurses and doctors, teachers, and so forth. Those that have an income that they can access cheap funding to be able to build and to build properly. We have to set standards, or else after every hurricane, we're going to have the same thing.
Help is coming. It's a widely used trope when discussing humanitarian relief. In the case of the Belize Red Cross, hurricane-ravaged communities are being visited systematically in order to assist as many residents as possible with the resources that have been made available to the organization. This morning, we joined a team of volunteers distributing relief items to hurricane victims in Vista Del Mar. It's a community that is often hard hit by tropical storms that make landfall near Belize City. News 5's Isani Catano reports.
I'm thankful for what they gave us. They gave me some cleaning stuff and a tarp and broom and mop. That was okay. I mean, it's a start.
Bernard Bahadur is a resident of Vista Del Mar. This morning, he was visited by a team from the Belize Red Cross, and he was provided with a few items, including a new mattress, to assist with getting things back to some measure of normalcy following Hurricane Lisa. Like many others across the district, Bahadur is making use of the humanitarian aid being offered.
This community here, Vista Del Mar, was one of the communities that usually flood out when the tide comes in. So most of the household that you see around here, the water went in like 4 to 5 feet. We did some assessment already. We brought some supplies such as cleaning kits, mop, brooms, bucket, Clorox, soap water. We also give each household a hygiene kit. And for those that had roof affected, we also distributed tarps for them. So today we got in the mattress and we're just coming back into the household to give them the mattress. If you look around, you can see some mattress outside of some of the houses. So we're coming here to distribute mattress today for those that need it.
Inside Bahadur's bungalow on Damselfish Drive, his sofa and other household items are still wet. During the storm surge, he physically bailed over 100 buckets of water that seeped into his home.
But we stayed inside while the water coming with the bale, do like 100 buckets of water, throw it through the toilet. So we may kind of like never have to put up everything high, but in fact we may put everything high. And we save a lot of stuff, you know. But all the carpet and everything mess up.
According to Terence Woodai, the logistics officer for the Belize Red Cross, all efforts are being made to reach as many affected and displaced families. The work, he says, began the day when the signal had been given that the danger was over.
We started just after the all clear on the 3rd. We mobilized our volunteers. We went to the headquarters. It was difficult to reach here because some line was still down. But we mobilized our volunteers. And that same day we did our planning. We had planned before, but we did a strategic plan that we want to target like the coastal areas. So that same day we did Gianosha, which is by the port, and we went to also some of the areas we have reached is Gianosha. We did Yabra, Caesar Ridge area. We also went to Holy Emmanuel, better known as Gungulung. Other areas we have reached is part of Belize, like Sunflower Street, part of St. Martin's. We haven't tackled the whole of Martin's yet. We also have a team in Belize City that is doing Belize City at the moment I'm speaking right now. It's kind of hectic because people reach out to you and say, you know what, my house is down, my roof is, we won't be able to reach everyone. We're trying our best to reach a lot of people. But yes, we might miss a few people, but we're still out there as we speak doing assessment, and our team is still going right now.
Outside on Bahadur's property, a small car in front of his yard is being aired out. During the storm surge, it too was engulfed in water. In fact, he says that the vehicle was completely submerged. The money to purchase the vehicle was from monies his wife received recently.
We lose like $4,000 easy, and that was my wife's pension money. Because she didn't get a pension, she got just the amount of money that she worked the day. And then she bought this vehicle and then went down there. But that lose. But thank God to be alive. I think life count more than every material thing. Material thing no count. Put God first and you have it.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isana Cayetano.
Just ahead, HelpAge assesses hurricane damages to shut-ins' homes.
Taking its name from the venerable father of the nation, the George Price Highway stretches 77 miles from Belize City to Benqueviejo. Originally built in the 1930s, this cross-country highway system is the artery that links Belize to Central America at the western border with Guatemala. That connection facilitates overland trade, supporting Belize's economic development. Winding its way across the scenic countryside, the George Price Highway from Roaring Creek to Esperanza has been fully reconstructed to meet international standards, with particular emphasis on road safety. A shorter and hassle-free commute is best enjoyed when everyone obeys the traffic laws. To reduce the number and frequency of road traffic accidents, it means that a seatbelt must be worn at all times and the speed limit observed when traveling along the highway. It also means that pedestrians must use sidewalks and crosswalks where available. Buses should only board and discharge passengers at a designated bus stop. Road safety is everyone's responsibility. It begins with you.
How are we to measure the success of our lives? For many, an ordinary life should have the following: a job, a house, enough money to buy a new car. But what if we threw out the ordinary? What could escaping ordinary at our jobs do? How about for our marriages? What if I told you we could all be escaping ordinary? Join us as we begin our new series.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited Postpaid Plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart. It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
Next Gen takes you to Qatar. Catch the live action and excitement of FIFA World Cup 2022 from November 20th to December 18th, exclusively on Next Gen. Make the switch and sign up today. Packages start as low as $5. Next Gen, the official broadcaster of FIFA World Cup in Belize.
The high season for tourist arrival this year is expected to perform well, although not at pre-pandemic levels. Notwithstanding the impact of Hurricane Lisa, every effort is being made in the travel and leisure sector to rebound from the damage caused by the natural disaster. According to Chief Executive Officer Nicole Usher Solano, the high season, which commences later this month, will see spikes in overnight and cruise tourism arrivals.
Thankfully, the tourism industry has been showing a strong rebound since COVID, because we're still in recovery mode and we're still not back to 2019 levels. So we are seeing that number getting back to 100% of pre-COVID. The hurricane obviously didn't help us because it kind of set us back a little bit, but we do see, and the response from the private sector is that we expect a strong high season. So that should begin toward the end of November, around Thanksgiving, and then run us through to the new year. So we expect that we'll have a strong high season, definitely. Our airlift is back. You will see that was one of the things from the hurricane. You'll notice that the airport was open the day after. On Thursday we had that open. And just to mention a couple other things, in preparing for cruise, I don't know if you noticed the arches that were down out there. We had Ministry of Infrastructure Development working along with the City Council. Everybody really got on the ground to make sure that those debris were moved out of the way so that we could move forward.
It's been around for decades, providing help to Belize City's elderly and immobile citizens, visiting with them and offering them a hot meal each week. Today was no different for HelpAge Belize, a non-government organization headquartered on the same compound as Sister Cecilia's home for the elderly. Today, however, while they went feeding the elderly at their homes, HelpAge also went to assess whatever damages these residents might have suffered due to the hurricane. News 5's Marian Ali reports.
How are you today? The weekly delivery of cooked food to Belize City's neediest elderly or incapacitated happened today, as was planned for the folks who run HelpAge Belize. But they went looking for new needs that have arisen because of Hurricane Lisa. Neville Mejia is not an older person, but he falls on the list because he is constrained by a medical condition. The former mechanic now relies on whatever help he can get, and he shared his hurricane woes with us.
The fences may get blown down, and you could look up on the ceiling there, you see that you have water damage happening there, but more than likely that will happen. We never gone no further. It's my situation, I don't have any control over it. I have a neuromuscular condition named limb girdle myopathy syndrome.
Which is what in layman's terms?
It's a mild form of muscular dystrophy. So it affects the limbs there.
Over on the north side, Glenford Gordon is able to sit up, but also has mobility issues and suffered quite a bit of damage in last week's hurricane.
I decided was to go to shelter, but the weather come and trap me here.
All right.
And the kitchen blow off, and in the hall, in the room, they have two zinc blow off. In the other room, they have another zinc rotten up there, and it leaked.
So you suffered some damage?
Wet up my mattress and anything there. Yes, Mom.
And clothing?
Yes, Mom.
Okay, so you need some assistance?
Yes, Mom.
And that is just what HelpAge intends to get for these people. The organization's executive director, Ivorine Bulwer, told News 5 that they will take the needs to various agencies and lobby for assistance for persons who fall within this category.
Observing this situation, we will be able to make referrals, because if you look around here, help is certainly needed. And so to us, the bathroom, the stairs, his mattress, he needs clothing, he needs some grocery bags. So we have the opportunity to really observe the damages, the impact of Hurricane Lisa on this already challenging environment. You know?
Okay, so who do you make those referrals to?
We work in close collaboration with the Ministry of Human Development. We also work closely with the National Council of Aging. There is NEMO, and there are other entities that we work with, individuals and international organizations.
Bulwer said that altogether they would visit 40 persons and assess their needs based on the hurricane damages they endured and look for help for them. Reporting for News 5, I'm Marian Ali.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.